Welcome to Rethinking Parenting. My name is Cristina Young, and I teach parents of teenagers. Join me here on Fridays to learn practical tools, strategies, and scripts designed to help you manage the challenges of raising teens in today's complex world. Hi there. Welcome back to Rethinking Parenting with me, Cristina Young. Today's episode is called Your Marriage Needs Oxygen and Sunshine. I've been listening in my groups to moms talk about their husbands, and there's some anticipation, I would call it, about summer and how it's going to be to likely spend extra time with the husbands. So I thought it might be a good idea to do a whole episode dedicated to how we nurture our marriages. A lot of moms talk about their kids and the way the kids dictate their schedules, their meals, everything, and their sex life, their sleep. I think we're allowing the kids to dictate too much. So that's why I want to focus on your marriage today. By the end of this episode, you will have 5 new strategies to nurture your marriage, specifically this summer. So, strategy number 1, let's go. Settings matter. Here's what I mean by that. Where do you and your husband spend the most amount of time together? I want you to really think about what is the setting in which you spend most of your time together. It is likely your house, right? And sometimes we only get the chance to witness certain things about our spouse in certain settings. So I want you to think about, in which location do you notice the qualities in your husband that you admire the most of all? Or if you're a man listening or whoever, it's where can you witness your partner at their best? So I'll give you an example from my life. On occasion, I visit my husband in his office. Not for any real reason. Maybe my office, the air conditioning doesn't work or something's going on. When I witness my husband in his office with all of his work peers, I notice how handsome he is. I notice what a good leader he is. I notice his air of confidence, but kindness. These are great things for me to notice and admire. Do I notice those same things at home? Sometimes, but not as regularly as I would like to. So I just want you to think about, what are the settings where you might be able to observe some different qualities in your partner? Is it at the gym? Do you volunteer together at the soup kitchen in your neighborhood? Do you spend time with friends? Do you go to a friend's house, like another couple, and have dinner there? Is it at his parents' house? Is it at a party? Is it when he's somehow hosting something, some kind of event in the neighborhood? Think about where it is. And then ask yourself, okay, I've determined the setting where I see the most admirable qualities in my partner. And now I want you to ask yourself, how can I increase the frequency in which we are in that setting together? So it's a really weird, sort of unique strategy, but it's tactical. And if you can figure out the way to get yourself in that setting more regularly, I think it will help nurture your marriage. Okay, let's talk about strategy number 2. Your marriage is a living, breathing organism. I actually want you to think about your marriage as a plant. If you neglect a plant, obviously you don't water it, you don't give it sunshine, it dies. I want you to think of your marriage in the same way. And so if you do that, what does it require of you? So the number 1 recommendation I have is to make sure that you have a weekly date night or date afternoon or date morning, but it's a weekly dedicated time where you have a babysitter and it's structured and everybody knows it, and everybody knows Friday nights mom and dad go out. But I don't mean go out with friends. That can be another night. What I mean is mom and dad go out and they actually look into each other's eyes and they converse and they problem solve and they enjoy each other's company and they do something they like together. Date nights are a must. If there's anywhere right now where I want you to throw money, if there's any money to throw, it's throw money at a babysitter so you know you get that date night. Even if it's just pizza at your local pizza parlor, it doesn't need to be anything fancy. It's the fact that you are sitting across a table looking into each other's eyes. I want to give you another strategy here in terms of your marriage being like a plant. I want you to think about one cave in activity per month. What does that mean? You determine, and your partner determines, one thing they really love to do, and they're like, come on, let's go do whatever. And you're like, don't really like that thing. But once a month, you say, actually, yeah, I'm happy to do it. I'll go with you because you know it makes them happy. And by the way, they're doing the same thing for you. So say it out loud, determine it. What is your one cave in activity per month? I want you also still on this idea of your marriage as a living, breathing organism. Figure out a way to text each other once a day. Only thing it says is, I'm thinking of you. Or I hope you're having a great day. Or I hope the meeting went well. I hope that lunch went well. Just once a day. I hope there's some communication. Obviously, a phone call would be great, but if that's not possible, it's just a text. My husband and I talk about the notion of information exchange, and sometimes we get a little stuck in that kind of communication. And one of us will say, like, we're just doing so much information exchange, which is not a real conversation. And it's not talking about your feelings. But we can get stuck there if we've got a lot of kids and a lot of people need to move from point A to point B. Okay. The other thing I want you to do in terms of nurturing your marriage like a plant, I want you to think ahead towards times when you have chunks of time alone as a couple. For example, summer is right around the corner. Are your kids going to sleepaway camp? Do you have a chunk of time coming up where you can spend that time together? Then get proactive and start thinking about what can we do to nurture our marriage while the kids are away? Don't let it just turn into like normal routine while the kids are away. You've got to be intentional about, okay, the kids are away for 3 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is. Let's plan. What do you want to do? Make sure you set that time apart. Okay, strategy number 3 is called storytelling. Storytelling is what I call the thing we do when we narrate something in our head that might not be true. And there's a very helpful acronym that comes from cognitive behavioral therapy to help us with this. So the acronym is like okay. And it's AH. So A stands for accurate and H stands for helpful. What I want you to do when you're running a story in your head is use that acronym and stop yourself and say, is the story I'm running in my head accurate? Likely, a lot of times it's not. H, is the story I'm running in my head helpful? Does it help me feel better? A lot of times the answer is no. Let me give you an example. When my husband was traveling a ton, not that long ago for work, thank goodness the travel slowed down a little bit, he would often forget to put his travel details in our shared calendar. So he would, or his assistant would book a flight or book the hotel. And this was actually, no, more Don. Sorry, honey, but this was more him, not his assistant. He wasn't delegating enough, was part of the problem. His assistant would never make a mistake like this. But Don has ADD. He's happy to tell you about it. What happens is that he can't hold a piece of information for very long in his working memory. He can execute on that piece of information a little bit, but it's very hard for him to take the task to completion. So he would book the flight, book the hotel, but taking it to completion would mean, and now I'm going to share that information with my wife on our shared calendar so that she doesn't have to ask me later. When I leave for whatever the event is, she already has all that information in the calendar. Back to storytelling, when I would notice the absence of that information on the shared calendar, I would narrate it like this. He is so thoughtless. He doesn't care enough about me. He doesn't prioritize me. And then we would likely have an argument about it. When I asked myself the question, is that an accurate story? Is that an accurate interpretation of this event? The answer was no. And obviously, for the H, is that helpful? No, not at all. Instead, I learned to say to myself the accurate story. This guy has ADD. He does this to everyone. It's not to me only. He doesn't do a great job of following through on minutia. He does an incredible job on following through on a million other things and coming in with the big ideas. Thank goodness we learned that he has to delegate to his assistant, who is amazing with executive functioning, and all of these tasks are completed. But I did myself in with those stories that I ran. It was really not helpful. And it also made my husband feel really bad, but yet he couldn't really change the behavior very well because it was his ADD. So be careful of how you're narrating something. If you narrate it better, it usually allows you to depersonalize. It usually allows you to say to yourself, gosh, this actually says everything about him and nothing about me. So think about that strategy. Okay, strategy number 4 is so crucial. And we used to do this, and I regret it, but we grew out of it, thank God. Strategy number 4 in terms of nurturing your marriage: no undermining each other in front of the kids, ever. I've had this conversation with so many parents over the years. Unfortunately, when we run out of parenting tools and we're depleted and maybe we haven't been taking care of our marriage and we run into a situation with our kids, we can, as a last resort, undermine each other. What do I mean by that? I mean, cut each other off at the knees in front of the kids, criticize each other and maybe our parenting method in front of the kids. This is toxic for so many reasons. Please don't do it. Catch yourself in the act and excuse yourself and say, oh, I can't believe I just did that. An example of this would be you're both struggling, let's say, with a kid who isn't doing a great job in math. They're bringing home some really yucky grades in math. You've tried different things. In the moment of trying to help the kid, one of you says to the other parent in front of the kid, you can't talk to him like that. You cannot speak to him like that. That is not okay. That's undermining. Because you're now allowing the kid to see a crack in the veneer. It is not smart. How do you fix this? You and your partner need to set aside time, maybe on the date night, just for the first little bit of the date night before you actually get to enjoy each other. You need to talk about what's happening. Why are we doing this? Why are we resorting to undermine each other in front of the kid? Let's get proactive. Let's figure out a parenting tool that we both agree on. Again, back to the example for helping our kid do better in math. Let's figure it out. Let's secure that protocol so that we don't ever undermine each other again, and especially in front of the kids. That's the worst. Strategy number 5 is about emotional bids. So you might have heard of John and Julie Gottman. They have the Gottman Institute out west. It is such a respectable place. They have done so much incredible research on marriage and partnerships and maintaining marriage and figuring out what are the things to do and say to nurture a healthy relationship. So, this last strategy comes straight from the Gottmans, and it is this idea of emotional bids. And what this means is that when your partner makes a bid for connection, you want to meet them. You don't want to leave them hanging. So, the bid for connection is really this way of saying, are you here with me? Do I matter to you? Are you able to connect with me in this moment? And it can be as tiny as someone putting a hand on a shoulder and just smiling. Or it can be a huge, like, gift of flowers. But it's, and everything in between. But the idea is that every time you turn towards your partner's emotional bid, it's like you're depositing something in this emotional bank account that you share together. And the turning towards takes effort. There's times when we don't feel like it. We're lost in our own world. We're doing our own thing. But just think about, I can give you an example. If I'm working on my laptop and my husband is sweet and affectionate and demonstrative, he always has been, and it's so lovely, and he'll come and want to give me a kiss. And I know that is a bid for connection. Is there a chance that sometimes in that moment I'm like, I just really want to finish what I'm doing on the laptop? I admit that. I'm not proud of it. But if I reject his bid for connection in that moment, it's not good for our relationship. So I try as often as possible to stop, lift my keys from the keyboard, make eye contact, look at him, return the kiss, have a moment, and then go back to my work. Okay, so that's a bid for connection. And our goal is to meet those bids. So we keep building each other up, building the relationship up. When you turn towards your partner's bids, as they're called, the message you're sending is, I'm interested in you. You matter to me. I care about how this impacts you. I understand you. I'm by your side. And I'd like to be with you, right? So it's a really important thing. And just think in terms of this last strategy. Like, I wonder how many emotional bids you're doing per day. I hope at least one, but I hope a lot more. But maybe start thinking about it, right? Um, Again, an emotional bid, it can be so, so tiny. Obviously, it could be a compliment. It could be, like I said, be a touch on the shoulder. It could be a question. How are you feeling this morning? Could be a quick question. How did the meeting go? It's just a quick way to say, like, I want to connect with you, right? Okay. So we've talked about the 5 strategies, and I want to just offer you one other takeaway. You and your partner came first. I got to do this with my hands. Okay. When I'm working in my parenting groups, I always show them, this is you. You fell in love. You decided to form a partnership. Maybe you got married. Then, next chapter, kids. A lot of you are in the middle of this intense chapter, joyful chapter of raising kids. But guess what the next chapter is? The next chapter is so long, and it's you and your partner again. Kids are going to come in and out, but it's you and your partner. So if during this kid-centric chapter, you are not taking care of your marriage, you're not nurturing your marriage, feeding it what it needs, what's it going to look like when the kids leave and you're in that third chapter of, oh, this is supposed to be about me and my partner? What's that partnership going to look like? You cannot ignore it for what will amount to probably at least 18 years. Can't ignore it and expect it to be healthy when you return to it. It's got to be an ongoing commitment to good health. Before we say goodbye, I want to talk to you about an organization I really admire here in Miami. And if you're looking to make a real difference, you need to learn about LEAP. LEAP helps formerly incarcerated women, many of them moms, rebuild their lives through in-prison education, safe transitional housing, and job training at the Dragonfly Thrift Boutique here in Miami. You can shop with a purpose, learn more, and donate at www.leapforladies.org and be a part of a woman's second chance. Thanks so much for listening today. I'll see you on Instagram at CMY Therapy. Take care. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Rethinking Parenting. If you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to rate, follow, and subscribe. I read all of your comments, feedback, and suggestions, and I so appreciate them. So keep sending them in. Thank you.